All right, good morning, everyone. All right. Buenos dias, that's right. Um, so before we begin, I want to first briefly introduce the Latino Outreach Committee. So if the Latino Outreach Committee people, folks, group can please stand up. I know we have a few. There's more, but these are the few folks that were able to make it today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So our mission really has been centered around uniting and empowering the Latino community through education, advocacy, and connection. A big part of our work is making sure people have access to resources they need. Whenever there's a civic information needed, community support, we try to help them out, or simply knowing where they can go for help. So being that bridge. Our vision is to serve as a trusted bridge, especially between the Latino community and the Democratic Party, so that engagement feels meaningful, relationships feel real, and representation becomes stronger over time. This group has been active since January 2025, and everything we do is rooted in building trust, connection, and long-term involvement. Some examples of what we've been doing is passing out Know Your Rights cards. If you're not familiar with those have the constitutional rights that we all have included in the back and in the front in Spanish, letting them know what they should be doing or how they should behave when an ICE agent approaches. Helping families who have been affected by the ICE kidnappings. We've done some fundraisers to supply some food or money if needed for lawyers. And we do that individually, not necessarily through the group, but we do what we can to help our community. We have had several ICE raids in our community, so for those who are not aware of it, and it's hard to really be aware of it because they're not doing it like they do in Los Angeles, Portland, or Minneapolis, where they make a big deal about it. They come here quietly in the morning, pick up people on the way to work, and take them away, and they disappear. The reason we know it's happening is because we're out there talking to the community, and the community tell us, my husband was on his way to work, disappeared. Another laborer talks about another labor worker that just never showed back up to work. So that's how we find out about that information. Because of everything that has been happening, we want to build stronger relationships with local law enforcement and elected officials. So I want to bring up Bill really quick to talk a little bit more about that outreach that we're doing.
Hi, I'm Bill Showie. I'm a volunteer with Latino Outreach. As Ludi was saying, ICE operates in a number of ways. But one thing they critically need to do is to scale, to really bring in the number of people they want to bring in. And the way they want to scale is to recruit the police to help them. So Ludi and Jessica asked me to see what we can do in Cherokee County to stop that from happening, or at least slow it down. So I've been in conversations with other activists around the state, and I want to share with you a story. There is a particular activist in Morgan County who reached out to the police there. It's a Republican sheriff, mind you, that she was talking with. Officially, police are not required to cooperate with ICE, but some do voluntarily. And they do it in a couple of ways. One of the ways they do it is if they pull somebody over and a passenger in the car is a Latino, not the driver, but just a passenger, police in Morgan County were asking the passenger for their identification to see if they were a citizen or not. This activist sat with the sheriff and argued with him, saying, what if it were me who was a passenger in that car? And she is a white woman. And that made the sheriff pause. Again, a Republican sheriff. And he thought about it, and a couple of days later, he reached out to her and said, you're right. I can't have a separate standard based on the person's complexion to detain that person, especially if they're a passenger of the car. So, right? So we want to have those same conversations here in Cherokee County. There's a number of other ways police can cooperate with ICE. That was one. Another way is, what if a witness to a crime is a Latino? You know, Jessica can share a story about that. Often, such witnesses are afraid to call 911 because they're afraid that they themselves might be identified or investigated as, you know, potentially not documented, and they don't want to take that risk. But probably the most extreme level of cooperation, and I know some of you have heard this term, is a 287G agreement between police and ICE. Remember, ICE needs to scale. And so what they're doing is offering this agreement with any police department that wants to participate, essentially giving the police all the powers of an ICE officer. We want to prevent that from happening. And most police departments, thankfully, in Georgia, don't want to participate in this. Most police departments are self-aware enough to know that immigration enforcement costs money, costs them money, it costs them resources. And they don't, and it's outside their official scope. So they don't want to deal with it. But I said most. I did not say all. There are some counties in the state of Georgia that are participating in the 287G agreement, including right next door in Bartow County. We in Cherokee County are safe from that for now, but there are always sheriff's elections coming up, so we always have to stay vigilant. In the meantime, we need to have those conversations here in Cherokee County with local police forces to establish rapport with them, establish dialogue with them, provide ourselves as a liaison between police and the Latino community, and to ask them to avoid doing those lesser measures like asking a passenger you know, for their papers. So we had our first conversation yesterday, Ludi, Jessica, and I, with local police in Canton, Georgia. The conversation went very well. As we had hoped, they are not interested in immigration enforcement. But we have to have those same conversations in Woodstock, in Ball Ground, in Holly Springs, and quite critically at the county level with Cherokee County Police. We need help. So if you are interested in volunteering to help have those conversations, please reach out to Ludi, Jessica, or me after today, and we'll talk about it. Sure.
So I know that there's a bill, HB 1105, and so how does that compare with the 287G? Like, are those
They're not related. Beth asked about a law. It's not a bill, it's a law, a state law called HB 1105. So it is signed into law. This is a requirement for police to, if they have somebody in custody who is undocumented, they are required to hold on to that person for 48 hours to give ICE the opportunity to come pick them up. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that has been signed in the law. However, after that 48 hours, they are required to let them go, number one. Number two, ICE is required to submit paperwork for that extra 48 hours of detention. So
when they apprehend someone or when they take someone into custody, are they required to contact ICE, saying that there is?
Yes.
They are required to.
yes.
Oh,
So I just got a point. So I'm a former police officer. So back in many, many years ago, when racial profiling became the buzzword for law enforcement across the nation, I was a police officer in New Jersey. That started on a traffic stop on the New Jersey Turnpike where New Jersey State Troopers pulled over a car because the drivers were African American. After that happened, the governor decided that every cop in the state has to announce over the radio when they're pulling somebody over, number of occupants and the race. And then that spread across the country. And then racial profiling became a bad word. It was a bad word. Borderline illegal, right? They're not allowed to do it, the ICE agents, by federal law, yet they do.
Right.
And what disturbs me is that we are having conversations with law enforcement officers, professionals. Maybe they're elected, maybe they're not. Maybe they don't have the level of training required, but asking for a passenger's ID or name is illegal. There's case law all over the courts for that, but they're doing it. And they don't know that that's wrong. Like, what is your impression in these conversations that you're having with these folks? And by the way, I'm happy to help you.
Please.
I'll throw my hat in the ring 100%, as this is, I see this happening, there's case law, and they're just stepping on it. And that shouldn't be allowed to happen, right? That's why we have this. But anyway, what is your impression of the folks that you're talking to? The Republican sheriff, in North Georgia, the guy that you spoke to yesterday, are these people professional? Are they educated? Did they just get elected? How are they flaunting the law to reach their ends, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing that we want to say is warrants and holding people and calling. Like, I could stop a van of 20 migrant workers. 20 years ago, you would call immigration, and then, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Right now, you're going to tell me that the cops local police have the resources and the place and the babysitters to watch these people for 48 hours? It's not going to happen, right? So that's part of the conversation as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I haven't had enough of those conversations to really get a feel for it. I have been in Zoom calls with activists from around the state, and I'm getting such wildly differing stories. And I'm guessing the reason why is it just really depends on who the local police are, right? For example, the officer we talked with in Canton yesterday was the epitome of professionalism. And he was crystal clear in his disinterest in immigration enforcement. He wants nothing to do with it. On the other token, I'll tell you another extreme. There was another county in Georgia where the police they have pulled over this one particular woman, a Latina woman, 6 times in her car, 6 separate times. She's a citizen, but for no reason. So, but these are individual anecdotes. Well, I don't have a feel for if there's a general trend in the state of Georgia about that. No.
Yeah, I just have a question about the 280,
287G.
287G. So you said that was required from the sheriff's department. Now, the sheriff's department is one department, and the sheriff is an elected official. Does that apply to local police departments as well, or is that just for the sheriff? Because sheriff usually manages the jail. They're not usually out on patrol as much as your city, county, or
Right.
state PD.
I have a fuzzy answer for that because my understanding until very recently was that 287G agreements are made at the county sheriff level. Thankfully, most counties in the state of Georgia are not complying with that. But there are a couple like Bartow, which I mentioned.
But that wouldn't necessarily include, let's say, the Cartersville Police.
Up until recently, I had thought so, but
Marietta City, for example, signed up for the
Okay, but they have to do that individually. It's not,
Yeah, they could do it individually.
Okay.
At the police level, at the sheriff, because really what it is they're getting trained as ICE agents.
okay.
So
I just wanted to know if the one agreement blanketed everybody. And it doesn't sound like it
no,
does.
no.
That's the other one, the state patrol, that's a white. Georgia State Patrol is with ICE. Did y'all hear that? Georgia
Oh, the Georgia, yeah, Georgia State Patrol has signed up for the 287G, and that covers a big part because they go all over Georgia. Oh, yeah.
Is there a list that you can go and find?
We do post a list on Slack. We have one of our members who is really good about updating it. She's actually started updating it weekly now, just to make sure we kind of all stay updated. So if you're on Slack, make sure you're keeping an eye on that. We got to get going with the presentation. Sorry. We'll have a chance for a Q&A at the end if we get through these, and then we'll have a little bit more Q&A. Okay, guys? Thank you so much. Sorry. It's a little bit more light over here. All right. Really quick, though, I think I did kind of skip over introducing myself. I know Betsy said my name, but I'm Ludi. I'm one of the chairs, so I'm the co-chair of the Latino Outreach. I've only been in Georgia for 2.5 years. Came from California. I'm originally from Mexico. So just since we got here, it was a bit of a culture shock coming from San Francisco. So I decided to get involved and just kind of start helping out, and met Julie and everyone here who's great. And yeah, we started the Latino Outreach Committee. Okay, 1 second. Let me see how I can get this to, oh, there we go. Okay, so in today's presentation, it's about understanding the Latino community. We're going to be looking at the perspective, values, and practical engagement. This is not meant to be a deep dive, like academic dive, but it's more of a starting point for awareness and respectful connections. The audience here, everyone, is just to thoughtfully engage, but not to have much of who has not have a lot of personal exposure to the Latino community. So this is a window into our community. Our goal is simple: to build connections and respect through awareness, and to leave with a few practical takeaways for how we can show up better. One of the most important things to understand right away is that the Latino community is incredibly diverse. Latino is an umbrella for people rooted in Latin America, but it includes people from many countries, histories, cultures, and identity. Someone who's from Mexico, like myself, has very different experience from someone from Cuba, Colombia, Guatemala, or Brazil. People's backstories also vary widely depending on immigration stories, generations in the US, and family traditions. So when we talk about Latino community, we're not talking about one single experience, but many. Here, we're covering terminology, which can sometimes feel a little confusing or even sensitive. Traditionally, Spanish, Latino refers to men or a group of mixed gender, and Latina refers specifically to women. These reflect the structure of the Spanish language. It's also helpful to mention the word Hispanic, which is always used interchangeably, however they mean slightly different. Someone who is Latino is not necessarily Hispanic, and someone who's Hispanic is not necessarily Latino. An example is Hispanic people speak Spanish, and it's focused on the emphasis as language. So someone from Spain is Hispanic, but not Latino, and therefore someone from Brazil can be Latino, but not Hispanic, because they speak Portuguese. So, and a new term that has also emerged has been Latinx, with an X at the end, and that one is geared more towards gender neutral, non-binary, and gender diverse individuals. Is most commonly used through Latino generations, younger Latino generations, in academic spaces and advocacy spaces. A helpful approach is to follow the lead of the person you're communicating with. And if you're in doubt, simply nicely ask what term they prefer. There are many unique identities within the broader Latino umbrella. Languages vary. Not everyone speaks Spanish, as I mentioned. Some speak Portuguese. Others speak indigenous language. There's about 23 different indigenous languages spoken across Latin America. French, which is spoken in Haiti, or primarily English. Immigration's experience are also very different. Some families arrived generations ago, and others more recently. Some came as refugee, some for work, and others through family reunification. It's also important to understand that within Latino community, there are people with many different immigration statuses. Some are US citizens, some are permanent residents, others have a work permit, and some are undocumented. And many families are what we call mixed status. And what that means is within the family household, there's people with different legal statuses. That complexity can shape how uncomfortable or how comfortable someone feels engaging with institutions, politics, or even community engagement. So the key takeaway here is to avoid assumption. Instead of thinking we already understand someone's story, we approach with curiosity, care, respect for the richness and variety in the community. One of the things I've come to appreciate through the outreach work we've done is the community's incredible diversity. There are certain values that show up again and again. For many, families is the center of life, not just the household, but grandparents, cousins, and the extended family. People often see family as their first source of support and strength. There's also a deep sense of community. Neighbors look out for one another. Relationships matter. People often build strong networks of mutual help and connection. For many, faith and religion are also an important part of life, whether that's through church, spiritual tradition, or roles played in guiding values and resilience. And respect is often expressed through everyday interactions, how we greet one another, how we show hospitality, and how we take the time to build real relationships. These values shape how people engage with school, organizations, and civic life. And they remind us that connections often start by understanding that what people hold most important. So this is one of the most important ideas in this presentation, and I want to explain it with a quick story. So early in our outreach, we met with a lot of people. Specifically this, I want to point out to this one woman we seen, and every time we talked to her, interacted with her, or asked her questions, she would stay very quiet, wouldn't respond much, or just kind of nod. It almost appeared like she was just not interested in the information we were giving her. But the more we went back to that space to visit the business, to talk to them, she slowly started opening up to us more and talking to us. And what we found out is that there has been attempts in the past to reach out to the Latino community, but it's where someone shows up once, promises to help, promises to be there for the Latino community, and then they disappear, and nothing happens to improve the community. So us now being out there is changing some of that trust, and it's only being built by consistency. So the real question for all of us is, are we building that trust over time, or are we only showing up when we need something? I often bring up also, the now new New York Mayor Mandani. The way he won the election was by going out to all the communities in his area. He talked to people, but most importantly, he listened to them. You know, he created connections. And because of that, he won the Latino vote there, which in the previous election had mostly gone to Trump. So made a huge difference being out there. So I often bring him up for that. And that has been our goal right now through canvassing. So sometimes, without recognizing it, we make quick assumptions about people based on things like an accent, a name, or where someone is from. Most of the time, those assumptions aren't made out of cruelty. They're simply a result of unfamiliarity. But even small moments can have an impact. For example, someone who speaks with an accent may sometimes feel that others underestimate them, or because they speak different, they start to hesitate to engage and participate. The same is true when you assume someone's background or story without really knowing them. Another important piece of language and terminology that's very important that gets used casually is the word illegal. But that can feel hurtful, dehumanizing, right? A person. So instead, we prefer words like undocumented, where we keep the focus on the person's legal status and not labeling them. These small choices in language can make a big difference in trust. And this isn't about blame here, it's just about being thoughtful. The more we slow down, listen, and approach people with respect and curiosity, the more welcoming and connected our community becomes. And often, it's those small acts of dignity that make the biggest difference. One of the most meaningful things about living in a diverse community is that we get the opportunity to learn from one another. Every culture brings something valuable: traditions, resilience, joy, and ways of caring for each other. At the end of the day, most of us want very similar things: to work hard, provide for our families, to feel safe, and to belong to a community that respects us. Connections begin with listening. Listening is one of the clearest ways we show respect, and it's the foundation of trust. And often, it's the small acts like curiosity, kindness, learning someone's story, showing up, and just creating those stronger bridges over time. If we want stronger communities and stronger representation, it starts with how we engage with one another, human to human. So I want to end with a cultural example many people recognize. The Super Bowl. Bad Bunny, the Puerto Rican artist who performed primarily in Spanish, is going to be presenting, or is going to be in the halftime show at the Super Bowl, and it deeply matters to the Latino community. The Super Bowl is one of the most watched events in American culture. Seeing a Spanish-speaking artist celebrated there sends a message. Our culture belongs here. For many Latinx families, it's a moment of visibility, pride, and validation, especially for younger generations. It shows how cultural influence and identities are becoming part of the mainstream, not just something on the sidelines. Let's all watch the Super Bowl and make this the highest rating halftime show of all time. Oh, you can. Oh. Okay. It's 'cause and yes, Pat. Hold on one second. Yes, Pat. Okay. Pat has a question.
All right, in perspective, all right, just so you know, all right, last year, 8,500 Georgians were arrested by ICE. Only 1/3 of those were guilty of any kind of, they had any legal information about them. That left 5,600 people have been deported out of Georgia who had not done anything illegal other than probably their color. One other thing that you can do, now that you understand a little bit about Latinos, all right, right now there are 4 bills, state bills in Georgia on reining in ICE. I suggest that you find those 4 bills. We can send it to you if you want it. We have the information. Julie has already sent me that. There's details on what those 4 bills are. They are a state bill by a Democratic senator. They are in the House. I haven't had an update on what the status is on them, but they were brought into they're in the legislature right now. Get on your phones, call. I know we keep talking about calling you senators, and we're generally talking about your national senators. We got to start at the bottom. The state senators and House representatives need to be called as well. You got to get on the phone and start getting after them about a number of things, but at least the ones that we're talking about now and Ludi was talking about is the problem with ICE that we have in the state. We have it in this country, but Georgia is the #3 state in the country of people that have been arrested by ICE. We're #3 after California and Texas. So it's happening. You may not see it in your daily lives, but it's happening all around you. And you can help by making those calls and letting your state senators and House know that they should be doing something about it here in Georgia.
Thanks, Pat. Thank you. Pat, we have to finish the presentation.
Sorry. Yeah. Pat was really excited. That's okay. That's good. So because of Bad Bunny, we're highlighting many Latin American countries. Obviously, we can talk about all of them, but we're going to highlight Puerto Rico right now. So we're going to bring up Priscilla to talk a little bit about Puerto Rico.
Thank you, Ludi. Okay, you can imagine. Bad Bunny won multiple Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year. The reason I mention that was history making. For the first time ever, a non-English album was winning the Album of the Year, and he's an activist. Before, when he was thanking the very first Grammy he won, the first thing he said was, "Before I thank God, ICE out." To everybody. He's an activist. He's supporting all of our efforts. He has such deep sensitivity, and his album and that 13 minutes of tomorrow's performance is going to be record-breaking. He's all about love, diversity, supporting Puerto Rico's independence, because he's protective of the culture. Whether that's the way Puerto Rico votes or not, that's a different story, but the identity that Puerto Ricans have, the strong feelings about music and people and family, is something that is super important to Puerto Rico. So, when we're discussing the diversity on the Latin stage, Puerto Rico is unique for several reasons. One, it's not a country, it's an island, and it's only 100 miles this way, 30 miles this way. You can run and drive through the entire island in about a day. So just think about the distance. We're 19 miles out from 75, so just almost double it, and that's one side of Puerto Rico. The geography is amazing. It's completely diverse. Best beaches around, unbelievable mountains. It has Yunque is the only rainforest in the United States of America. It's beautiful, it's clean and everything. It all has bioluminescent bays. Now that's just geography. The biggest difference in this Latin American countries is the political affiliation with the United States. That makes it unique. So it's not a country, as I mentioned, it's a territory, it's a commonwealth. It runs itself. All Puerto Ricans are citizens by birth, and a surprising number of people don't know that, shockingly enough. They can move freely. The Puerto Rico residents, the Puerto Ricans that actually live in the island, they can vote in the primary. That's why you'll see them in the national conventions, but they cannot vote in the general election. When the Puerto Ricans that move here, and there's 6 million of them, they can vote on the primary as well as the general election. There are 3 million people on the island. There are 9 million people here in the United States. Just on the island population alone, if it did become a state, it would outnumber 11 of the US states in representation. So that's one of the things that the Democrats would love to have, some of the things that the Republicans fear. Okay, so the Spanish, of course, is the language from culture and everything. However, English is the official language, simply from a business and government standpoint. Puerto Ricans, because they're mostly bilingual, also do code switching, which is Spanglish. So if you've ever known a Puerto Rican, besides the fact they speak fast like me, but they'll start in English and in Spanish or vice versa, you know, so it's just a national dual language, okay? They do identify strictly as Hispanic and everything. The music is diverse. Salsa, merengue, bombo, reggaeton. You're gonna see all of that tomorrow night. Of course, they're also outsized in terms of sports and baseball and basketball and boxing particularly. The geography, of course, as I mentioned before, is one of the diverse in the Caribbean. And the impact of the Puerto Ricans in music and history and government far exceeds the little size of this little island, which is closer to Venezuela than it is to Miami, Florida. And lastly, here's some of the stars in government and arts. AOC, Justice Sotomayor, Richie Torres, and in the arts, Mark Anthony, Jennifer Lopez, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Benicio del Toro, and Rita Moreno, who's a goat, you know, or the EGOT person. And of course, Bad Bunny. This proves that the Latin American culture absolutely has no boundaries. Thank you.
Marissa, do you have anything to add about Puerto Rico? Did she cover everything? Bravo. Boricuas. Proud. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being open to having this conversation. Definitely, I know there was a couple of other questions people had. Just open it really quick for a couple more questions,
Absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely.
So this isn't really a question. I just feel it's a statement I feel needs to be made. When growing up, I had no connection to the Latino and Hispanic community. It wasn't until I started working in restaurants as my first job as a waiter and eventually moving up to being a manager. Their community is some of the hardest working people I have ever worked with. I remember a man that worked for me when I was a manager. He would leave his landscaping job, come to us, and then continue working every night, and he was the best cook we had. And I would still find him where he was almost falling asleep on the line, and yet still keeping up with everyone at the same time, just from how much work he was doing. So while I may not have any personal connection to the Latino community, I do feel that they need to be here and they deserve to be here. And I understand Puerto Rico would like to keep any independence possibly from there, but I fully believe they should be a U.S. state. At this point, I think they deserve the entire right to be able to vote in all elections that we do currently. So, yeah, that's it.
All right. Had I skipped anybody else? I think, sir, do you had a question or? Oh, she's got.
The police get a bonus.
For the 287G?
yeah, for 287.
Yeah, there's supposed to be some incentives, correct. I think incentives for the department as well as for the officers, which is why some counties have signed up because of the funding.
Now, is that the same like incentive that they're giving to the ICE agents of the 50 grand that they're never gonna see?
Right, we're not sure, and I think that's, again, gonna be seen over time. So if they don't come through with those incentives, perhaps, you know, they'll stop signing up or they just won't follow through, one or the other.
Just a note, I know we had mentioned earlier, some people are interested in getting involved with the Latin Outreach Group.
Yes.
Who do you want them to contact or get hold of?
Yes. So if you're interested in helping out in any different levels that we have, of course, definitely find Jessica, who's in the corner back there, or myself, or Bill, anybody who you see with this T-shirt. That Trisha, one of our members, created the logo. If you just talk to them, and then we'll make sure we get the information. I think just to add to what you were talking about when it comes to voting and stuff, again, it's really trying to create that trust right now with the Latino community and the Democratic Party. Latinos tend to be a little bit more on the conservative side, but now seeing all the changes, we're trying to make sure that hopefully that changes their mind, but it still takes a lot of conversation. because the media shows something different, tells them something different. And a lot of the times they just, it's not necessarily enough unless we have more of a personal connection with people. And last one, and then we're done.
He has such a good heart. He has such a good heart and caring, and you will see, he does support the LGBTQ plus community, and he fights for us. Yeah, he is going to wear a dress tomorrow, so he's just got a big heart, and I'm very excited.
He's very gender fluid, and he's worn dresses before. He's just very, yeah, he's just a great guy, definitely.
Just a brief comment. I've personally witnessed what this group has been doing over the last year, and they are tireless. I don't know where they get their energy, but Ludi, Jessica, and all of the members have been out in the community day after day, week after week. They've been dealing with the bad news about ICE because they have to keep track of it. I was talking to them about this yesterday. So they can't just turn it off like some of us might be able to when we've had enough. They are paying attention. And then they're dealing with individuals in the community who have lost family members, who have disappeared. So huge, huge appreciation for all the work that they're doing. And they've been working very hard to canvass businesses just to be there for them, Latino businesses and Latino community. So it's not just a strategy. This group really cares deeply about the community here in Camden and Woodstock and the whole county. So they can use all the help they can get. If y'all want to be part of this effort, please sign up, because obviously the times require a lot of action on our part, and we just owe such a debt of gratitude to the Latino Outreach Group here. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Before we close out, I want to make a few more announcements. Our March Coffee and Conversations will be back in Woodstock at the Woodstock Library. But for April, I want you to keep it in your back pocket, because we're going to have Ann Dover, and it will be here. Ann Dover, for those of you that don't know, she is the head of the Cherokee County Elections Board. Is that right? Or Elections Office. She'll be coming here. I know a lot of people don't necessarily trust elections, but she is a very principled person, and she will be coming here to talk about elections in our April meeting. Coffee and Conversations is always the first Saturday of the month. So follow us. If you don't follow us on, if you don't get our newsletter, please sign up for that. Also, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram. I think we're all over the place, Blue Sky. And please join us if you want any more membership information. Priscilla. Oh, by the way, about Puerto Rico, if you ever go there, try a dish called mofongo. Funny name, but boy, is it good. Just saying. Also, remember, we have our candidates here. If you want to talk to any of them, please feel free. Ms. Jackson's here still if you want to talk DEI with her. Thank you all for coming. I don't know if we have any more coffee and donuts. Help yourself. Thank you all.